All right, we're going to get started in just a second here. Let's start podcasting. All right, folks, welcome to one of VividCortex's regular webinar series. This one is entitled Ship All the Things, an intro to ChatOps and Hubot. Let's see, my name is Owen, and I'm one of the developers here at VividCortex. I do a lot with deployment automation. Been spearheading ChatOps at VividCortex, and we'll go over a little bit more what ChatOps is. And in my spare time, I brew beer, play guitar, and snowboard. So at VividCortex, we have I would describe it as a ShipIt culture. And what a ShipIt culture means is we believe in getting code into production early and often. And we want to facilitate that and make that happen more often. We believe that the deployment should be easy and fun and accessible and safe. And that's why we're big into ChatOps here. ChatOps was coined by GitHub, and basically the core idea of ChatOps is putting tools in the middle of the chat room conversation. And it'd probably be best if I just give you an introduction to or introduce our ChatOps robot. His name is Thing. And we'll give you an example of what it's like to execute various commands using Thing. So in this case, we're going to deploy a branch of code to our staging environment and then merge it into our production environment. So it starts with the local developer creating a feature branch and then pushing that to GitHub. Once that's pushed to GitHub, they can then execute the command thing deploy. In this case, where the repo is web app and the branch is 123 ShipIt. As soon as that's executed, thing immediately returns that it's working on deploying that to stage. Once that's successful, thing will respond back with a message and that it was successfully deployed, and in some cases it'll give us a little reward for doing good work. In this case, it's a picture of Natalie Portman holding kitty cats because we like Natalie Portman and kitty cats. So next thing, once that branch, I tested that branch on stage and I know it looks good, I can then create a pull request, which we do in GitHub, and ask my coworker John Berryman to review it. He looks at it and says, you know, it's amazing what I've done and it's a work of art, and that it's ready to be merged into master. So then we can use Thing again to merge this branch into master. In this case, it's the merge command with the again the repo web app and the branch 123 ShipIt merging into master, and Thing will let us know when that's successfully done. Then we can use Thing to release this branch into production. In this case, we're going to bump the version 1 patch level. We can specify that at the end of the release command using the patch. It can also accept a major and minor bump to the version level. So once it'll let us know when it's working on doing that, and when it successfully has released, it will again notify us back in the chat room that this particular version has been created and pushed to production. So why is this so exciting? Really the big thing for us is it enables everybody in the company to push code when they're ready. Nobody is a blocker. I call the blockers human keyboards. This is that person who was for somehow gained being the gatekeeper of pushing things to production or deploying code or doing any sort of tasks in the company. If he's not there or busy doing something else, then you have to wait for him to be available to do commands for you. And that's a huge blocker. You don't want those in your company. And we learned by seeing others perform these tasks. All those commits, all those commands we executed earlier were all done in the plain view of the chat room. Everybody in the chat room was able to see those commands. New developers who come on board learn by seeing more senior, experienced developers execute commands. They see how easy it is and makes onboarding a very easy process. And another cool aspect of it is wherever chat is, ChatOps works. So we all have smartphones here at VividCortex, and they all have the chat client on it, which means that theoretically I can deploy code from my smartphone, which is a pretty cool thing. GitHub has done a bunch of presentations about what their ChatOps is like, and they've got amazing stories of mitigating denial of service attacks from their smartphones before boarding planes, and I have some links to those that I can share with everybody at the end. Maintains code ownership. The person who wrote this code is the person who pushes it to stage, is the same person who verifies it on stage, is the same person who pushes it to production and ultimately verifies it on production. So there's no siloed deployment environment where you're blaming someone else for your code not working. It's yours throughout. You still own it throughout the entire continuous deployment pipeline. And it's fun. I mean, it's way more fun to execute these things in plain sight. We got all sorts of goofy reward images that come back when success happens, and equally goofy images that come back when failure occurs to make it not so bad. And there's a couple of other commands that I can show you a little bit later of some of the fun things. And these seem like time wasters, but they're actually a gateway to getting people excited about ChatOps in the company and wanting to create their own commands for fun and for productivity increases. So a little bit about access control, that some organizations, may be a little bit worried that if they expose all these commands, it makes it possible for people to abuse them or perform things that they don't want a particular user to be able to do. And GitHub goes over this a little bit in some of their presentations, but some of the things you can do is like a word of the day. It's basically when you first execute the command, it'll say today's word is kittens, and in order for that command to actually execute, you would have to re-enter that command with the keyword kittens at the end. Next thing you could possibly do is roles. Hubot has like a brain that could be like a Redis database or pretty much any database you want that you can kind of persist data in, and you could potentially assign people, different access levels of credentials, and then use those to prevent someone from executing a command they shouldn't be doing or don't have that level of access to. Or you can do none of the above, which I think is more in the vein of ChatOps. The big win with ChatOps is that you trust everybody to do the right thing, and you can just try to keep sharp tools out. Don't create things that are going to shut down your infrastructure or shut down servers or start up a whole cluster of servers and raise your AWS costs. And again, trust your people. Hire people that you can trust, and make sure they're aware of what these commands are and what they do, and trust that they'll do the right thing. So we'll go over the kind of what makes up Hubot, some of the nuts and bolts of it. Hubot is a open source project by GitHub. As I said before, it's a Node.js application. So you'll be writing these scripts to manage these or create these commands with JavaScript or CoffeeScript, and I'll go over that. One of the major components of Hubot is adapters. This lets you plug into all sorts of different chat systems, IRC, HipChat, Campfire, FlowDoc, even Twitter accounts will work. And there's just an almost endless list of what else you can plug Hubot into. So the anatomy of the Hubot directory is there's a scripts folder where we will put all our scripts to create these commands. So a script typically starts with this comments section that tells us about the script, what it does, what dependencies, no dependencies it may have, what environmental variables it may need access to. And specifically, this command section is actually pretty important because when we execute the help command, this will actually parse this section here and return to us a list of the commands that Hubot knows about. So we can listen for commands. This is basically an example of a script called Natalie Me, which would return you a picture of Natalie Portman, a random picture of Natalie Portman. We like Natalie Portman here at VividCortex. That's why we created it. So the first section is this response section. This will listen to a specific command with the actual Hubot name. In this case, it would be thing Natalie Portman bomb me. So this is in CoffeeScript. If you're wondering why this looks a little bit weird, if you're used to JavaScript, but I'll just point out that JavaScript does work as well, as long as you just prefix the file name with .js instead of .coffee. CoffeeScript isn't too bad once you get used to it. It's a little weird at first, but you get past it pretty quick. So that's the same command using just regular good old JavaScript here. And so we got the response. So we'll respond to thing, Natalie bomb, and me, and it'll capture a certain number of Natalie pictures that you want. Otherwise, it'll default to 4. And so it's just basically we're matching on just this regular expression. Hubot will listen to all the conversation that happens in the chat room, and once we get a regex match on some specific message in the chat room, this JavaScript will fire. And so this is the capture group. In this case, this regular expression, like I said before, captures the number, or it'll default to 4. So in this case, if I said Natalie bomb me 10, we would have 10 Natalie bomb pictures returned to the chat room. Hubot can also hear, which a hear is does not need to have the name of the Hubot to respond to something in the chat room. In this case, it would just Natalie bomb me would trigger this command. So if you want to just listen for some conversation in the chat room and then execute something to happen around that conversation, you can do that, which is pretty fun. Hubot can also listen to when you enter the chat room. In this case, when someone enters the chat room, the specific Natalie bomb command will be fired and return to them a picture of Natalie. Or on leave, it can also execute something. So once somebody leaves the chat room, it'll give them a picture of Natalie. And you can also create an HTTP endpoint that you can kind of post back and hit that URL with some specific parameters to cause something to happen. So in this case, this would just be a HTTP URL that you could post to Natalie, me, in some quantity, and then that would then return back pictures of Natalie Portman to the chat room. So Hubot likes to speak REST API ideally, or likes to talk to REST APIs. It's built into the Hubot syntax. So message URL should be pretty familiar. We're just going to basically just going to fire a GET request to that HTTP endpoint and return back the that JSON in the body, which we can parse out and extract the image from that JSON response, and then send that back to the chat room. You can also reply, which instead of just sending back to the specific chat room, we can send back directly to whoever executed this command using the reply command. So Hubot has storage in Hubot Brain. You can store various facts or data in there and call that back. In this case, it's just a username and getting details about that user. All right, so I figured I'd go over, actually show you some of the commands that we have in our chat room to give you a better idea of some of the stuff we got and how we use it. So in this case, this is just a webinar chat room that I created, and our Hubot is in here. We can get its commands using help. So we'll start with some of the more useful commands, and then we'll descend down to some of the more useless ones. So we can say commands, which is something we created to actually get a list of all the commands that have been executed in a particular time period, sorted by most recent. So one thing we like to do is actually store useful links that the company needs. So we can just, rather than, it's kind of hard and to remember exactly what the link to our wiki page is off the top of our head, or if we're onboarding new people, getting them used to what those links are. So we've mapped a bunch of different commands to various links. So we got wiki, gives us that, our wiki page, our internal wiki page. We got waffle, which returns back our waffle IO board, which is a Kanban board that plugs into GitHub. We got, let's see, we got Kibana, which returns back our Kibana dashboard and for log aggregation purposes. Let's see, what else we got? That's just a few of those commands. So we got logme, speaking of Kibana. Because Kibana is built on Elasticsearch, means we can plug directly into the Elasticsearch API to get back the most recent aggregated logs that are going into Kibana. In this case, we created logme, which will, by default, it's all the most recent logs. I think it's I forgot exactly how many it is, but I think it's like the first 30 seconds of logs, I think. And we can also filter down, so we can see the help log me. So we can actually query pretty much anything. It's basically just the $ equal, or the Q equals that we're passing any parameters into. You can say help, or I'm sorry, log me host. And if we want to just limit the host here, we can say API stage, and that will return us only results from API stage, the host API stage. Let's see. So I guess we'll go into some of the more the fun commands. So we got catsme, which returns an adorable picture of a kitty cat, or you can do cats bomb me to return 5 kitty cats, which is really good when something bad happens and you want to get a cute, adorable picture of a kitty cat to make you feel better. Another good one when something bad happens or something you're about to do something pretty risky. Here's hold my beer. So in this case, it's Hold My Beer feed from Reddit. We get the most interesting recent ones and and post those back to the chat room to entertain us. What else we got here? Space Cat's good. So that's fun. And oh, Cage Me, because Nicolas Cage is awesome. I can say Cage because superimposed pictures of Nicolas Cage on various public figures is always entertaining. Yeah, and that's just a few of the commands that we got. Won't go into the release commands, but I showed you in the webinar that how we use it to deploy. So I'll post these back into the webinar, but here's some of the in-house scripts that we've created. And I showed you. There's DBA me. Let's show that. DBA me. So there's DBA reactions, which is like a feed of just various GIFs with comments about satire about being a DBA, I guess is the best way to put it. Pretty funny stuff. So we've open sourced some of that stuff. We also have our own Hubot script that we created to interface with our API. Oh, I didn't show you that. So Hubot, let's see. That's a good one. Hubot. So we can say VC top queries last 30 seconds, and this will return to us a snapshot of. It's because I didn't use the / So this is calling out to our API and taking a snapshot of our top queries UI, and it's going to return to that as an image back to the chat room once it's complete. Should take just a few seconds here. Maybe not. Let's do top. Top queries. Yeah, it seems to be having a problem right now. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so there's a little issue there. No big deal. Yep, so that's some of our scripts that we've open sourced. There's CatsMe, the Elastic Log Search script. Here's some more linkage from GitHub and some presentations that Jesse Newland and Mark have done about what ChatOps is like at GitHub, and then a guide to Hubot scripting, which is really good in-depth guide on what options you have in the Hubot API and what you can do with it and how they work. So that's basically it. If you have any questions, definitely post them to the webinar, and I'll do my best to answer them after we're done. There's a URL I'll post there as well to rate this talk if you don't mind. And you can follow me on Twitter at Agent03 and also on GitHub at Agent03. And that's it. Thank you very much.